Should we have a look at a listener's question? And it is question this week, right?
It is, yeah. So we've only got one question this week, guys. We are trying to see if we can keep the podcast a bit shorter this week to see what people's thoughts are on it. So we'll put a poll out there later to see if people prefer the shorter episode. Not knowing me and Ben, I know Ben likes to talk, but I love to talk, so it might be longer than what we expect. But we have got one question. So if anybody's got any questions that they want answering, please do send them in. Otherwise, we won't have this as a feature. So we won't have you won't have an opportunity to actually ask us a question about anything in particular. It could be about coaching, it could be about our experiences, it could be about what we think about certain races or certain distances. So please do send your messages in, emails via couch2coach at outlook.com or on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, wherever.
Listener's
But we
question.
have
Insert jingle.
insert jingle, listener question. So we have one listener's question from Jodie Hertzberg John. So we gave her a shout out last week. She did the Cambridge half and she's doing Stafford half this week. So her question is, I've always been a foodie, but after a long run, I feel I could eat everything in sight. I would be interested to know what you both follow, if any, in terms of nutrition in your day-to-day life and before and after a race. Talk me through what your ideal weeks look like, including the weekends. So I've always been rubbish with nutrition. I think I mentioned it on a couple of episodes ago. My diet has been up and down. It's like a yo-yo. So I'll eat loads and then I'll eat nothing, and I'll eat loads and I'll eat nothing. So my diet is shocking, and I've always wanted to learn a bit more about nutrition, and I did at certain points in my life. I had a PT, and he would basically tell me what to eat, and no disrespect, it was like, right, okay, then after that PT session had finished, so 12 weeks I felt went back to what I was eating before, so it didn't really stick with me. Um, Being a nurse, you would expect me to know what to eat and what not to eat, but it's all well and good knowing what to eat and what not to eat, but it's actually doing it. So, have you got anything to
Did
add,
you
Ben?
did you feel that you said that your food intakes lots? Well, you'd eat quite a bit, and then some days you'd eat
Mm.
nothing quite a bit. And did that correlate with the actual exercise that you were doing? Do you think, like, if you went out for a long run, you'd eat loads for a couple of days, and then your diet would, like, your appetite would drop off, or what? What?
I don't know. I suppose with me, so I'm a big lad, so people that know me or people that have met me, I am a big lad. I'm 6 foot, nearly 6'6". Bit rotund, as they would say. I've lost a lot of weight recently, but I think my diet really hasn't changed dramatically since I started running as it was before. It's just because I'm moving more and
Mm,
my calorie intake is probably no different, but my calorie output when I'm doing the exercise is more.
yeah.
Um, Laura, who is my fiance, who I'm marrying in January. I don't know if anybody's mentioned it, but
Rob's getting married
she's
in a month.
currently, yeah, she's currently on a diet, so she's doing Slimming World, and so I tend to eat whatever she's eating because it's easier to eat the same thing at meal times. But the problem with me is I could have like 15 portions to her one portion, if
Yeah,
that makes
I mean,
sense.
this is the thing. I think, obviously I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to give lots and lots and lots of information out about this because I'm not qualified to do that. But one thing I have learned over the years with reading lots of stuff is that diet is very personal. It's very individual, or should be very
Mm,
individual. So if a lot of households do that, you cook a meal, you do portion, and you'll have the same size portion. It's good for women to regulate food and good for men to regulate food. But what you'll often find is that you might have one that outbalances the other. So you might have the woman that has the same size portion as the man and doesn't need as many calories as the man. And this isn't me being sexist, by the way. It's
yeah,
also men will potentially have the same portion as one, but men need more calories, so end up
yeah.
overeating because they try and eat more or have larger portions, go back for seconds. And I've been guilty of that for many, many years. We use HelloFresh,
Ah, okay, yeah,
and
I've
they
heard
they
of that.
send you food in portion size, so you order the food, cook it fresh for two people, and
Yeah.
they do work well. Other food preparation, ordering food, freshly cooking things are available. Um, But it works well because they provide you all the fresh ingredients, so you are eating fresh, you're not eating processed. You get your meals planned out for the week. They send you all your stuff through, and it is two portions. Generally speaking, then it's about control of how many calories are in that, and you can see that from the recipe card they send you. HelloFresh, if you want to sponsor us, let us know, or any other food prepping services. Um, and then it's about control, like how much dessert do you have? Do you have two desserts? Do you have a chocolate bar after? Do you not have any dessert? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I'm I'm not really a sweet person. Laura probably beg to disagree, but I'm more of a savoury
Mm,
person. So if there's an extra portion going of the meal that we've just had,
yeah.
I would have that over a pudding, which isn't good or isn't bad. I suppose it's probably similar. Um, but yeah, my relationship with food has always been. I'll come from a family that are big eaters. We're all very big
Mm,
eaters. My dad's a butcher, so we've always had meat. I have to have meat with every single meal that we have. So if we have like a,
mm,
I don't know, Sunday dinner, very rarely we would have something without the meat. So my relationship with food is very up and down.
yeah.
I know what I shouldn't eat and I know when I should eat, but then I'll binge as well. That's my
And I
problem
think this is the
sometimes. I'll
thing with it. I think binging's a classic thing. People eat or go on diets or think they need to go on diets. I
yeah,
don't think diets work well. They don't go hand in hand with running necessarily, because
no,
if you're running and you're burning a lot of calories and you're training 4 or 5 times a week, running easy or harder exercise sessions, you think to yourself, I'm on a diet, but then actually what happens, it takes a lot of willpower
yeah,
to basically refrain from the bad foods. And when you use a lot of willpower, if your stress levels go up, what tends to happen is you then binge. I think
yeah,
what you have to do is to manage your diet accordingly across the course of the day. And I think that comes from eating the right foods, like refined sugars, chocolate bars. um, they might make you feel satisfied at the time of having the chocolate bar. What then happens is that keeps you going for a while, but then for an hour or so. But then what happens is you get a sugar rush and you then drop, and then all of a sudden you're hungry again.
yeah,
The foods that you eat at the times in which you're hungry throughout the day are what's important. So I think having a good breakfast is essential. Like, you can skip breakfast and people have different things to do, but if you had like a good breakfast of not something that's not refined, like porridge oats and fruit, it will keep you fuller till maybe lunchtime, which means you've got through that gap of not snacking. If you then think
mm,
to yourself, I'm going to have a good lunch and not something that's maybe processed again, and you're not going to suffer that crash, you'll stay full to your dinner. But if you need snacks, it's adding snacks in that are going to be suitable. Fruit, nuts are really good. Preparing things like eggs to snack on and that sort of thing. It's all about planning your food, I think, and making sure that you are not feeling hungry all the time because you're on a diet, because the inevitable is probably going to happen at that point, and that's a binge.
yeah, yeah. I'm bad for that. I know I am. The problem, and Laura again will vouch for this. The problem is because we've got kids, we have snacks in the house.
Yeah.
So we have things like penguin bars, or we have things like jammy dodgers, or we have things like chocolate
Do you do
digestives,
the old
or
parent tax at dinner time?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
you're not eating that bit of
But look,
sausage, I'll have that. It's not going in the bin, we
yeah,
don't waste it in our
yeah,
house.
yeah. But Laura tells me off all the time. What are you eating now? What are you eating now? I'm like, it's only one biscuit, and then that biscuit turns into two biscuits, and
Yeah, yeah.
turns into three biscuits, and by the time you look at it, you're like, "Oh, I've ate the whole packet." And then I'm not so bad now, but when I'm on a diet, I weigh myself all the time. So I'm like, how much weight have I lost? How much weight have I lost? I'm not so bad now because I know if I'm eating, I can go out and I can go for a run and I burn the calories that I probably ate. But yeah, my relationship with food isn't the best. Um, I love food,
Yeah.
but I hate food as well at the same
I
time.
think what needs to happen really is you need to have some thought process. I don't think you can diet,
Mm,
as I say, when you're running, but I think making sure you're eating regularly, making healthy eating choices, foods that are going to
mm.
keep you fuller for longer is a starting point. But um, we are going to have a special guest on the show. Um,
Oh,
I've been lining it up.
Special
He
announcement
is
again.
available.
We had a special announcement last week. So
Special announcement. So we've got a really good guest coming on. His name's Jack, and he is the owner of the business Box Nutrition. And he's somebody that I've known for a couple of years now, and he does VO2 max testing. But he's also a coach in things like diet. He's a sports nutritionist. So he's going to come on the show, and he's going to be someone that will answer a lot of questions like this: how to eat around
mm,
training, how to make sure that you get the right fueling strategies to fuel your day as well as your training. Um,
mm,
and he's going to be a guest that comes on the show. What we'll do is we'll pop some details over in the stories on Instagram and Facebook in the coming days and weeks. We'll get a date lined up for him, and we'll keep you posted when he's going to come on. But he will be a really interesting guest to listen to because he's going to answer all these questions, and he is qualified, so he'll tell you everything, and that'll be a good chance for you to get your listeners' questions in.
definitely. So people do get your listeners' questions in, especially if you want to get a question answered by a a qualified nutritionist. I'm a qualified nurse, so I can't really answer the questions about nutrition. So that's why we thought to ourselves, well, we'll get somebody in. Could we have a couple? It's not the first time people have asked us about nutrition.
Yeah,
So Dave, who won the Strava League, he was asking about nutrition as well. I've just got one quick question for you about nutrition, Ben, before we go on to the couch reads.
go on.
Carb loading. When do you start,
Yeah,
and when do you stop before the race?
carb loading for me is a tricky one because if you don't understand carb loading too well, a lot of the time it's I'm going to eat as much pasta as I can the night before a big race. It's probably not the
Yeah,
sensible thing to do because it's going to sit in the stomach, and it could go disastrously wrong. So all I would say is the first few days before race, so like during your taper week where your exercise intensities drop down, your body starts to store glycogen. So what you need to be
yeah,
doing is if you're using that through any exercise or at rest, it's about replacing that so that when you come to the race day, you've got enough glycogen stores. So in theory, carbs should be a pasta meal, a bowl of pasta, a normal pasta meal the night before a race, or I personally like pizza, a good
mm,
pizza because the base is full of carb. You get protein
mm,
from the meat that you have on it or the other sauces, fat from the cheese. I just find it a well balanced meal. Um, but carb loading, it doesn't necessarily mean eating lots of carbs. I think the few days into the race, all you're trying to do is to replace any carbohydrates you are using. So make sure your meals are a bit more high carbohydrate going into the race. You might feel a bit heavy. You might feel a little bit sort of lethargic at times because your body is starting to store that. Um, and you're not using as much, which you've been sort of running quite low of during your training blocks. That's a perfectly normal feeling. Um, but it's the days in the build up to the race that you should just be mindful of how much you're putting in and try and make sure your meals have a good portion of carbohydrates in each meal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Um, couch reads. We got some in. Should we do couch reads?
We'll do couch reads, but I need to go get the magazine, so just bear with me.
Oh dear, oh
We'll
dear.
do that again. 2 secs. I've just remembered.
So Rob's literally just going to get his magazine to do couch reads. I don't know what he's got in store for us, but I'd imagine it's going to come from a well-known publication. Other good publications are available. When he comes back, here he comes. I've just been
I've got
talking.
everything
I've just
else.
been talking about you to the listeners.
Have you?
Yeah.
So I've got it now. I've got the magazine. So this is again from Runner's World. This is April's edition, so it's just recently come out. Again, thank you to Laura for the subscription. I get Runner's World on a regular basis. So the happiness movement. So exercise was named as one of the key ways to combat depression in a major new paper. The review found that when it comes to lifestyle therapies as opposed to medication, the recommendations with the highest ratings to improve MDD, which is major depressive order, are exercise, relaxation
Relax
techniques,
section.
relaxation,
What's relax section?
relaxation techniques, work direct intervention, so i.e. changes to a job role potentially,
Mm.
sleep, and mindfulness therapies. changes to diet and also access to green space were also suggested, but had a lower evidence rate. So exercise, good for your mental health. We're gonna spend 5 minutes now discussing it,
The
but we're
clock is
also
going now.
but we're going to focus on mental health and running in May,
Yeah.
as it is Mental Health Awareness Month. But I thought I'd start with a bit of a discussion about it now, and I completely and utterly 100% agree with that.
Oh, totally.
I think my mental health, touch wood, has never been as good as it has been since I started running.
Mm,
So my mental health now has massively improved with the running, with the exercise, not only because I've lost weight and I feel better in myself, but also I find that going running gives you that time to think about things, reflect on things. I'm a big reflector. We talk about it in nursing quite a lot. So reflecting on things that have either gone well or not gone so well in the day. And I think that time running is a really good opportunity to have a think to yourself and actually talk to yourself and say, right, okay, then that didn't go so well. What can I do next time? Well, that went really well. How can I improve on that?
here's a question for you then. If it's really helped improve your mental health and you've got a regular routine of exercise, you got your football, you got your downtime, you use it as time to go and reflect. How do you feel when you don't run?
Eh, I feel guilty. I think sometimes I feel guilty that I haven't done it, and I feel, and especially now with the North Stats Road races, with the league that we've got, I feel to myself like, oh, somebody else is probably out there. So once one of my competitors is out there
Mm,
doing the running, and I'm not doing the running, and it starts to play on my mind a little bit. Um, and I think having them runs, I appreciate the days where I'm not running better
yeah.
more as well, if that makes
Do you
sense. So
think
the
though
rest days,
you could get like depression? Let's say, for instance, it's a strong term to say that you might get depression because
yeah,
there are people that suffer with depression for various reasons. But I've experienced it where I feel guilty for not running, and you look at the
yeah,
competitors that you're in North Stats Road Runners, and you look at um, the people that you follow on Strava. They're out running, you're not. Do you think you
yeah.
can get down in the dumps because y- you're not running, and to the point where it's quite negative?
Yeah, yeah. I think if I haven't got that time to reflect, I don't do that reflection. So I don't think to myself, well, what have I done today?
And you,
I have a conversation with Laura when she comes in from work. How's your day been? Yeah, how's your day been? But that is the internalization of what's happened throughout the day
yeah,
is better because although you're talking about it to somebody and they can give you
yeah,
suggestions, but you're actually recognizing it yourself and you're spending that time looking at, right, okay, what can I do next time? How could that be improved? Or
yeah,
that went really, really well. And I wouldn't say I feel depressed if I don't go out for a run. Like I'm looking outside now, looking at the snow, thinking it's probably better for my physical health rather than my mental health not to go running
yeah.
because just in case I slip over. But I think the physical health aspects really have a massive
Mm,
impact on your mental health and your cardiovascular system. Your heart, your low heart rate has a massive
yeah.
impact on your mental health, and the blood pumping through your body, oxygenated blood pumping through your body, has a massive improvement on your mental
I mean,
health.
I had it a couple of weeks back. We spoke about on the show where I couldn't run because I was a bit
Yeah.
under the weather. And I think it's the biggest thing for me, as you've touched on, is getting that sort of bit of headspace to go out for like an hour.
Mhm.
You haven't got to
Yeah.
be talking to anyone, but you think things through, or just that release of
Yeah.
that pressure because you're outside, and it's maybe an hour where you haven't had to think about it. Because if I don't get that, I think I quickly sort of catastrophize everything. Um,
Yeah.
it becomes everything then becomes too much. The little things which I can deal with when I've done my running um, is good. Like I
Mhm.
can get out and I can do my thinking time. But if I haven't had that thinking time, just the little things I can normally handle, I struggle to handle. Um,
Mhm.
and then it means that you get a bit frustrated, short-tempered at things that you wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's really good to get that bit of headspace. Forget the physical benefits a second. I think it's one of the things we really want to get across, and we're going to do quite a few episodes at Mental Health Awareness Week about it. We've got some good guests coming on. Um, I think it's more for um, mental health for me than anything in terms
Mhm.
of I know that I'm physically fit. I wouldn't be able to run a half marathon in the time I did. You could run a half marathon in 2 hours and whatever time you're running in and feel great, physically fit. I think it's the mental
Mm.
side that should take a lot of priority as well.
I think the feelings after as well. So
Oh
what
yeah.
you felt after Cambridge Half, the rush of endorphins that you got through that
Mm.
also has a massive impact on your mental health
For
because you think to
days
yourself,
after.
well, I want that feeling again.
Yeah.
I want to get, and it's a good way because that's what people with people with drug disorder, people that take drugs or drink alcohol, they want to have that feeling again. So replacing that, or not, I'm not going to go into that in great detail because we're over 5 minutes, but replacing it with something which is good for your physical
Positive.
health,
Yeah.
positive for your physical health, like running, and you get that kind of buzz, is really, really good.
I mean, I think this shows it's a 5 minute bit of section in the show. We have got
Mm,
over, but it's very easy to talk about it for a long time, which is why we are going to dedicate a few episodes to Mental Health Awareness Week and talk about this with
yeah.
people that have had this experience, the positives, the negatives that they've felt when they haven't been
Mhm,
able to run. We're going to get some experts on the show. We've got an expert here
mhm,
already. I'm talking to
mhm.
him. We're going to dig into that a little bit more in a special week or a month of episodes, and that'll be great for us, I think, to get you listening to that and hopefully answer some questions as well. But that brings us really to the end of the show.
It does. It
A
does.
shorter
Well,
episode.
very short effort. Completely. We've kept ourselves strict, and we've kept it to restricted to a time frame. So 45 minutes, probably a little bit longer for people that are listening because we've got the added the jingles and things like that. But what we want is your feedback, guys. So tell us what you think about this shorter episode. Is it better, or would you prefer to have it a bit longer? Give us a time frame because I know some people listen to it while they're on a long run, and some people go out for an hour, some people go out for 45 minutes, and we can't obviously do it for everybody. But let us know the feedback of what you think for this episode.
Last question of
Um,
the show goes to me, Rob.
go on.
So you've had carrot, lemon, and chocolate in the
Yeah,
wedding cake.
yeah.
What's your favourite tier?
Carrot. I chose carrot. So we've had. So I chose carrot cake. It's going to be carrot and orange. So carrot and orange. Uh, Arthur chose chocolate
Good
cake.
lad.
My youngest, and Laura chose lemon because that's it. There was three of us there, but I know that Arthur, Bradley, and Connie, they all like lemon and chocolate. So uh, if the whole carrot tier is for me, that's absolutely fine. So
I no. If I better be getting a slice of that cake because I like a carrot and orange.
well, there you go then. You'll be there, so you can have a selection of
I'll be
whatever you want
fighting
to
you for
do.
the carrot and orange cake. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a shorter episode. We've enjoyed it as always. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And remember your listeners' questions and good luck at Stafford Half.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the listeners, and also good luck at Stafford Half for everybody that is running Stafford Half. And I'll see you on Sunday, and I'll see you all later.
See you later.